Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode, and in this one, we'll discuss the imposter syndrome. So, what exactly is the imposter syndrome? Well, the imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern in which an individual starts doubting their accomplishments, and it even turns into an internalized fear that they will be exposed as a fraud. So that means you're constantly afraid, even though you already have your accomplishments. Now, a while back, I was promoted to being the team tech lead of the current client's team. And in my mind, it also trigged a bit of the imposter syndrome. And I've had lots of moments where I've been dealing with imposter syndrome in the past. But I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how I dealt with the imposter syndrome. So the first tip I'm going to give you is ask a team member. Usually when you're in a team, I noticed in the past that there are always these duos, even within teams, of two people who are just that bit more connected to each other, more easier to talk to each other than with the full team. And if you have someone you're comfortable with, just go to that person and say, hey, I'm actually doubting what I'm doing here. Do you think it's okay what I'm doing? And there is nothing wrong with asking that. And your team member will give you some valuable advice. Either they'll say, I'm happy, man. You're doing a great job. What more can you wish for? Or they could say, hey, I've noticed that this and this might be a bit off. Maybe you could have a look at that. I've done this numerous times in the past as well. Asking feedback to team members, but on a personal level, like, hey, I'm not sure I'm doing a great job here. What do you think? And I've always gotten valuable feedback in a non-offensive way. And this is crucial when you're asking someone who you trust to get it in a non-offensive way, so that at least you can reframe your mindset, focus on what you should work on, and just deal with those issues. And that will help you beat, at least in some cases, the imposter syndrome. The second one that I did was you have to look at your past. Look at what you already done and see how it grew you into the place where you are at now. I remember giving a workshop at a conference a while back, and I was sitting there waiting for everyone to come in. I was like, what did I do? Why? I'm not good enough to give this workshop. This is gonna be horrible, and everyone's gonna be like, what the hell is this guy doing? But then in my mind, I started going back. I've already given this workshop multiple times. People were happy. People gave me feedback. I introduced the feedback into the workshop. I improved the workshop. And as I noticed, I got more relaxed. I kind of lost the thought of being an imposter and a fraud, and I just went up into the workshop. And in the end, people were super happy. They loved the way I gave it. I gave them enough freedom to do what they wanted to do, and I got very valuable and good feedback on that. So looking back at the past, you realize that there are things that are similar that you already did once, so you gain a little bit more confidence in doing what you're actually going to do at that moment. Tip number 3 is a bit different, and it helped me in the current situation that I'm in. So I started as a developer, grew into a team tech lead. And one of the things you could say is, but you're a junior at it. You're not good enough to do this. Well, yes and no. Yes, I'm a junior as a team tech lead, but I'm not as a developer. And so I can give valuable feedback on the tech discussions. By keeping the beginner mindset is I keep all of the discussions open for everyone. Meaning, as a tech lead, I will never say, this is what we're going to use, deal with it. Never. I come up with the first solution, possible solution, or the first possible way of dealing with something, and then I leave it up to the team to discuss. People can bring input, people can change things. There's a whole discussion that can go on, and as we're doing this, I try to learn from it as being a tech lead, like, oh, that's a good take on the problem and how we could solve it. And so afterwards as well, I try to review, okay, how did this situation go, and what could I have done better? What could I have done different? What did go well? What should I do in the future? What should I keep doing? And with keeping this mindset, it's hard to think of yourself as an imposter because, hey, you just started there. You're a junior, and so you build up the experience as you go. And that is what I'm currently doing, and it helps me a little bit with the anxiety of being the new team tech lead. And I just try to learn as much as I go while keeping in mind that, hey, there's always something to learn more. Tip number 4 is actually, might be a bit harder, but it's actually it's a bit of a combination of powering through the situation and being kind to yourself. And what I mean with that is as an example, I used to always work in agencies, and on one point I was like, agency life, I'm done with it. I want to do something more out of my comfort zone. I want to do consulting. And I didn't grow into a freelancer straight away. I found this nice company that would help me get to know the consulting world, have a taste for it, see if consulting is something I could live with doing the rest of my life. And so because I wanted to go also out of my comfort even further, I accepted a mission that included working on Silver Stripe. Now, I had never worked with Silver Stripe before, so in my mind I started using the junior stuff, like, yeah, I'm a junior on this part, I know PHP, I know my front-end technologies, but Silver Stripe as a CMS, never worked with it. And so after a call with the client, they actually accepted that, yeah, you can come in and do the job for 3 months. So the first day when I got there, I noticed that there was an issue. I was the only person in the team. There was no other team, there were no team members, it was just me and the code. Now part of it was already set up by the previous developer who just went up and left, and nobody else in the company knew about the Silver Stripe. And so in my mind I already started, oh crap, they want someone experienced, I'm gonna be exposed here that I'm not aware of what the Silver Stripe framework is or how to deal with it. But after a day of being like, oh shit, oh that, I just kind of went into, you know what, I just have to power through this. It's 3 months, I have to do the best I can do, and then we'll see how far we'll get. And actually it went pretty well, because in the end, at the end of the 3 months, not only did I deliver my project, I also contributed to the core of Silver Stripe itself, fixing some bugs, adding translations. And so by just powering through it and being kind to myself, mostly like, okay, don't worry about it, there's no need to have anxiety, we'll figure it out, just keeping that mental image in myself, like step by step, we'll deal with what comes next. It kind of helped me set up or at least complete the task at hand. And so that is the 4th and last tip of how I dealt with imposter syndrome in the past. Now there's one more important thing that I would like to bring up. It is not being proactive for yourself, because that is hard. You'll never know where you'll end up, and you'll never know when you'll notice that you're feeling the imposter syndrome. But what you can do is help out your colleagues. Whenever you feel like a colleague is having a case of the imposter syndrome, like you'll notice that they're a bit uncomfortable speaking about the technology, about what they need to do, what they did, I want you to be proactive, and I would like you to help the person out. And the best case to do this is actually to reverse my tip number 1, asking a team member. Instead of you going to them asking them like, how do you think I did? Go to them and give them some nice, good feedback. Whenever you see them doing something and it worked out fine, you go like, hey, great job on that, man. I really liked how you did that. Or, oh, way to go on tackling that issue. I love the code you wrote. Stuff like that. Even small little compliments can help a person out tremendously when they're dealing with the imposter syndrome. So be kind to yourself, be kind to your team. I hope you will do this also in practice. I hope you will give your team members some feedback. And I hope when you're dealing with the imposter syndrome that one of the 4 tips I gave you can help you. And I'll see you next time.